to talk about games played by Ryan and Mike. A modern, a retro video game show. Yes, we talk about games and sometimes other stuff like Star Trek. It's a blast, our gaming podcast.
Hello and welcome to another Talk About Games. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Mike. Today we are talking about the Fortuna something? What is it?
Brigandine, the Legend of Forcena.
Forcenta.
No T.
Forcena.
Like John Cena. John Cena.
When I first started streaming, everybody in 2015, they'd come into the chat and they'd say, John Cena. That was it. They would just say John Cena.
Right, and they were expecting the dun 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 dun.
I guess they wanted me to do. What did they want me to do when they like? What was I supposed to do?
Because they always go John Cena. Oh my god, I'm gonna die.
And that is the final episode of Talk About Games. I hope you guys enjoyed this show. It was fun for me to do.
They always do. They say John Cena, and then the music plays.
So I was supposed to
maybe you have like a sound.
Music, like
you have like the sound.
I don't know.
You're not a wrestling guy, are you?
No, I'm not.
No, not at all.
Well, so as far as the actual wrestling, like I really don't give a shit at all. But I do like the little skits they used to do.
Yeah.
Like you'd be like Hulk Hogan or Macho Man or whatever, like the behind the scenes, like they're yelling at each other, like all those skits. I think that stuff's great and really entertaining. But once they're in the ring, I'm like, I don't.
It's
care
like
what
whatever.
happens.
I don't watch people fake.
They're like oiled up, and I don't need to see it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's really popular. Like,
I know
WWE is like one of the biggest content owners on YouTube. Like they have like so much.
Yeah,
it's pretty crazy. So I'm talking about Brigandine, but I'm guessing that the people watching the show would rather hear us talk about your game, Castlevania III.
All right. So, and they already know that I'm talking about that because there's a thumbnail and there is a title. So they already know. We don't even have to announce it. You ever think about that? We don't have to announce our games. You
just start talking about like characters and settings. You're like, I really like the axe. It goes like this. You throw the axe.
Speaking of characters and settings, so this game happens to be about Dracula.
Yeah.
And I've read the book, the original Dracula, and oh my God, you have to remember it's the era before movies, right? It's a book.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, it just goes on and on and on. Jonathan Harker is like in the thing and he's traveling through the castle, or he's traveling to the castle, or he's traveling through the countryside, and it's just like page after page of description of like, and the tree looks like this, and it's this color, and it's autumn, and
the gnarled Transylvanian wood.
It just pages and pages and like it goes on, and I'm like, I have heard the color of every leaf in this fucking forest. When is Dracula gonna suck somebody's fucking blood or something?
Right,
you know? And then I'm like, put the book down and go play Castlevania III Dracula's Curse, because it's much more entertaining than reading.
Yeah.
I'm going to advocate. You know what they say to you? Just to go to the library and see, reading's great and all that. Just play video games. They're so much better.
Yeah, don't read. Don't watch movies.
No math, no school.
Could you imagine if the book was, and then the pixelated guy, Trevor, kneeled for about a minute. And then he walked right. He whipped a candle.
And a skeleton appeared.
That he also whipped.
Then he continued moving to the right, and there was another candle, to which Trevor jumped.
He jumped on the block.
On the block. The floating block in the air.
Yeah, I don't know why the book wasn't like that.
It should have been.
Yeah, totally.
It's like those Worlds of Power books they did, like Mega Man and all that. Okay, so you guys have probably mostly played Castlevania III Dracula's Curse, but if you haven't, we're going to talk a little bit about the basics of it. So it's the third Castlevania game. There are many Castlevania games. On the NES, there was 3. There was Castlevania II, Simon's Quest, and then there's Castlevania III, Dracula's Curse. This one stars Trevor instead of Simon, And the big gimmick here is that you can be other characters. There's 3 other characters that you can be, and then there's also different paths that you can go on.
Sypha, Alucard, and Grant. Grant Dynasty.
That's the ones.
Yeah.
And as you go, you can pick the different paths you want to go on, and eventually, you might go one way, you might get Grant, and he can climb on walls, and you might go another way, and you get Sypha, and she can do a bunch of ice shit. And then you go another way, you go down, and you can get Alucard, and he can fly.
I love the music when you have to pick which way you're going to go. The like dun 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 dun.
The music's
dun,
great.
Dun. Yeah.
And that's a good point for us to mention that there is a Famicom version of it. The Famicom had an extra sound chip in it or something to where there was a little bit more music in the game. So if you want to hear a slightly better,
I think it's worse. I get that it is technically better. There's more voices. Right. There's more sound, but it just doesn't get me pumping like the NES version. Like the NES version.
Well, the one thing about it that I can say that I think is worse about the Japanese version is that it's easier.
Yeah.
And in the Japanese version, if you're Grant, you can just continually throw the swords like endlessly. Yeah. And it's like that breaks the game.
Right.
Like it's just like you're God.
Yeah, it's like imagine you're a freaking Contra character and you're just like shooting across the screen. Like,
yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It makes it too easy. But I mean, this is a tough game. I've been doing some challenges recently. I've been trying to beat the game No Death. I did years ago. I did the first Castlevania game, and I played through the whole game. I did some different challenges with it, but I did try to do whip only, where you go through the game and you can only use the whip. You can't use the sub weapons. And I recently just did that the other day because somebody left a comment. They were like, "Hey, Mike, you did whip only in the first Castlevania. Are you ever going to do that?" That's what started all this. Are you ever going to do that in Castlevania 3? And I'm like, why not? I like to do challenges. So I did it. I sat, and it was difficult to do, but it took me a couple streams to do it, I think, and I got through that. And then when I was done with that, or as I was doing that, what happened was I was like, oh, and there's also the loop 2, which I did a couple years ago. And then I went to look on YouTube, and I'm like, where is that stream? And I'm like, oh, I never did that. I did Loop 2 in the first Castlevania.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I actually never did Loop 2 in Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse. So I was like, I'm going to do it.
I love these old games that have the second quest, whether it's Zelda, it's, the Castlevania games, all of that. You knew that you were in for a good NES game if they had the time to make the second quest.
So somebody in the chat was trying to explain it to somebody else in the chat, and they said, what's Loop 2 or whatever? And they go, Loop 2 is like New Game Plus.
Yeah.
And I got aggravated because like Loop 2 came first.
Yeah.
So like, New Game Plus is like Loop 2.
Right.
It's not New Game Plus, so because when I think of New Game Plus, that started with Chrono Trigger, but later on, became also famous with Dark Souls, and many other games. But so New Game Plus, and I think the gaming culture now knows New Game Plus. They don't really nobody talks about like loops anymore. But back in the 80s with like Contra, we would talk about loops. It'd be like the second loop. With Zelda, it was Quest, like you just mentioned. Yeah. So I got a thing for you. So with Zelda, at least back in the day, people would say, oh, I beat Zelda. And then they'd say, but did you beat the second quest?
Right.
And then you'd be like, oh, well, how do you get to the second quest? And then you could put in the code, and it'd be like, you put in Zelda, and then you can get to the second quest. So most people considered you didn't really beat Zelda until you did the second quest. I never even really realized until this week that I had never beaten Castlevania III, Dracula's Curse, until now that I've actually beaten Loop 2, I'm like, oh shit, I consider that's actually you beating the game for real. It is much more difficult, but so what it does is probably the major difference is that there's these skulls. There's still Medusas. What I first thought when I saw that was like, oh, they replaced the Medusas with skulls. That's not what it is. The Medusas are still there. They added in these crazy fucking skulls that fucking go like this all over the place. Right. And they're really hard to avoid. But let me tell you this. When you actually do it, you go through the whole second loop and you beat it, at that point, you would say to yourself, now I feel like I've beaten this game. So now that I've done that, and it was like, by the way, it's not like 1 times harder or 2 times harder. It's 20 times harder.
Wow.
Than doing the first loop. So it's very, very, very difficult to do. But then here's another thing. I only did it 1 path.
Right.
So
there's all the other paths.
I really actually don't even consider that I really even beat the game still.
Did you beat it on the Grant path?
No.
Oh.
I beat it on the it was the Sypha path, and so there's also the Grant path, and then there's the Alucard path. So what you really want to do, if you really want to consider that you like beat this game, I mean, really you want to do all the paths, but the hardest path is the Alucard path.
Yeah.
So if you've beaten the second loop on Alucard path, at that point you can be like, I beat Castlevania.
Right.
3 Dracula's Curse. And so here's what happens, though. I got to talk about this. This is a very long game.
Yeah.
There's a lot of levels. There's a lot of paths. You can go this way, and you'd be like, oh, I beat the game. Oh, shit, but I didn't go this way or this way. You'd be like, all right, I'm going to start over. And now what are you going to do? Well, the first time I went through the game, I went with Grant. I got Grant, and I beat the game.
Yeah.
But there's these other characters I got to do. I'm going to get Sypha this time. I'm going to go through the whole game again, and I'm going to get Sypha, and I'm going to go on another path. And by the time you do all that, you're like, boy, I've almost had enough of this game. I've been playing a lot of this game. But there's still that Alucard character. All right, I'm going to beat the game one more time. I'm going to do that Alucard path. And then you go through, you get Alucard, and you finally beat the game with Alucard, and you're like, oh, I did all the characters, and I did all the paths. Put that game to the side, because you played a lot of fucking Castlevania 3,
definitely.
and you did.
Yeah.
But then there's the second loop, and most people don't even ever get to the second loop because there's so many paths. There's so much you can do within the first quest, the first loop, that people don't get to it. And I hadn't gotten to it for so many years, and I do all these challenges, and I was really taken aback because I just thought that I'm be like, okay, I'm going to do loop 2. Take me a couple hours, be done. No, it was hard. It was actually probably up there in probably the top 5 challenges that I've ever done.
Wow.
Super fucking difficult to do, loop 2.
Yeah.
But I just said something wrong. It's not a challenge. When I do a challenge is like, I'm gonna get to Ganon in Zelda with no sword. That's a challenge because I'm doing a special thing that the game isn't really intending you to do. That's like a challenge. Loop 2 is a real thing that's in the game. You know, it's like the second quest of Zelda. That's a real thing. That second quest of Zelda is not a challenge. It's just part of the game.
Yes.
So I recommend to everybody. It is very difficult, but I'm recommending this to people that have played Castlevania 3. You've beaten the game before. If you've ever beaten Castlevania 3, you should go and do Loop 2 because if you do it, you will feel a sense of accomplishment and it's worth it. And I think everybody needs to do that. So moving on beyond that. So now I said, all right, there's still one more big thing I want to do. I want to beat this game no death. I'm going to no death this fucking game.
Yeah.
But next thing is that I was like, okay, but what if I can't do it? So the first thing I did was I was like, here's what I'm going to do. Every single level, I'm going to no death per level. I'm going to be like level 1, whatever. I'm going to try to do that no death. And let's say I die and I fuck up. I kill myself until I go to the continue screen. And then I start over and I do it again. Okay, go through. And then I beat level 1, beat level 2. And then I get to level 5 and I'm like struggling. But basically it was like a stepping stone.
Yeah.
Just to know that I could do each stage.
Yeah.
And so I did that.
So you were able to do that.
I was able to do that.
Yeah.
And now currently, as we're recording this, I'm working on the full, putting it all together and doing the no death run. At last stream I did, I made it all the way up to the second form of death. Because death is, he's got this, the scythes and he's throwing them all over. I killed him and then basically Skeletor comes out and then the face is like moving around like this. And I made it 1 hit point away from getting killed by that. There's 2 stages after that. The next stage is like that sort of water stage, and at the end you have to fight the doppelganger, like the clone of yourself. And then there's the final stage after that. So I'm getting there, but I didn't quite do it. Yeah, it's very hard to do. No Death Castlevania 3. It's fucking hard to do.
Right.
So here's the thing, though. Let's say I do it. Yeah. Let's say tomorrow I go on stream.
You're still not done.
I'm not done.
You're not done.
Can you imagine? What are some other things that you can imagine after I know death? What would I have to do?
You no death, whip only.
No death, loop 2.
No death, loop 2.
Whip only, loop 2.
Yeah.
Let's say I did that. Let's say I did whip only, loop 2.
Yeah.
I'm not done yet. You know why? I didn't do the other path.
Yeah.
And do the like, it's just endless.
It's a big game.
So it's a big game, and there's a lot of stuff that you can do with it.
Right.
I feel like all the stuff that I'm saying is kind of, maybe I'm a little like kind of further than a lot of people might be with the game. Like a lot of you guys might not have really even played much of the game. Mm-hmm. Just as a basic NES game, if you like NES and you haven't played Castlevania III Dracula's Curse, you're doing yourself a disservice. It's one of the best games on the system.
I want to mention there's been a lot of roadblocks to people playing Castlevania 3 versus a lot of NES games. For a while, the Nintendo on chips that were coming out of China and places couldn't play it. Mm-hmm. You know, it would freeze up. You wouldn't be able to play it.
And a lot of times for quite a while on EverDrives, that game in particular wouldn't work. It does now on modern like EverDrives, but for a while that one wouldn't work. Yeah,
there was a lot of places where you couldn't emulate it. Like even like the emulators wouldn't run it right. Like I remember being in college and trying to play Castlevania 3, which is a game I had as a kid, but I remember not being able to play it because the technology wasn't there. Mm. That's not really a problem anymore.
No.
But it was. I mean, this was a game I played as a kid, and I feel like I was able to get far as a kid. Like, there's a lot of games that I played as a kid and came back and played as an adult, and I'm like, oh, you know, I really didn't get to see any of this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, examples of that are G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much in G.I. Joe.
That's a cool game, too.
But when you play that as a kid, you probably don't get into it too much.
So my thing with the G.I. Joe game, not to go on too big a rant about that, but that's a really good game, but that was like the one cartoon and franchise as a kid that I wasn't like super into. Like I love He-Man and Transformers and Thundercats and you name it. Mask, I loved all that stuff, but I didn't really get into G.I. Joe. But I go back and I play the game, and it's an interesting experience for me because I'm just basing it on the game itself. And it is like, technically it's a really good game, but I don't have that like nostalgia or lore for the show. Like when I go to play, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a good example, like a Ninja Turtles game.
Right.
I have all that, like I care about the characters because I watch the show, you know? So for G.I. Joe, but you grew up on G.I. Joe though, right?
Oh yeah.
You're a big G.I. Joe
Yeah, definitely.
guy.
And the G.I. Joe that is in the NES game is the G.I. Joe that is like late. Like Captain Gridiron and stuff.
Is it not the good era of the show?
Like I think it's good, but I'm not as old as some of the people I know that are really in the G.I. Joe.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's like, you know, it's the late 80s era that the game came out.
Sure. Makes
right?
sense.
It's towards the end. It's like the second series of the cartoon. It's like different characters. The art is more 90s. Yeah. You know, like the colors
so it's not
are
like
brighter.
It's not the original.
Right. But you know, it's weird. There's like the Trouble Bubbles and the Buzzsaw and like a lot of
those
the
vehicles and stuff.
Old vehicles that are from the prior. So it kind of mixes both.
Yeah.
In a way.
Right. That's interesting.
Which is kind of interesting. It's midway in between.
Right.
I learned something interesting. The X-Men arcade game is actually based on a failed pilot.
Oh, I thought you were about to mention the G.I. Joe arcade game. Did you ever see that?
Yeah, and that's based on the newer stuff too. It even has the new Snake Eyes that is like the blue and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that a lot of these licensed properties end up getting based on like different things.
Yeah.
Right? Like they thought they were going to have that X-Men show was going to be the X-Men show.
Sure.
But then they redesigned all of it. And the game's based on like not that,
right?
Which I think is crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, the G.I. Joe game that's in arcade is very based on like even later.
Okay. Yeah.
Like Snake Eyes isn't like the black suit anymore. He's like the blue with the goggles and stuff. It's pretty crazy.
I never got a chance to play that arcade machine. I haven't seen it anywhere. I think it might be a rarer machine.
Yeah. And a lot of the compilations, like the emulation ones, don't have it. It's really easy.
So speaking of arcade machines, we're talking about Castlevania here. So like, how I'm trying to think. Like, I don't even really know. I guess I have to look, but how would one have just played a haunted castle? I know there's Castlevania Versus where it's basically it's the NES game kind of, but it's like timed.
And there's got to be the Play Choice, the Play Choice 10.
The Play Choice 10. Well, there's like that, but yeah, I know there's also Haunted Castle, which that'd be neat to see like one of those.
Yeah, that would be cool.
But so anyway, Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse. I mean, if you want to hear more about that, just go watch my streams. I talk endlessly about the game. There's so much to talk about. But yeah, basically, if you haven't played it, you gotta play it. It's one of the best games on the NES. It's super deep. There's so much that you can do with it.
It's one of the best looking NES games. It has some of the biggest like enemy sprite, like cool looking, like horror enemies that you fight against. The sub weapons are all very important and different, from the axe to the holy water to the knives, like the whole thing. Switching the characters is unique to that game.
So some of the stuff I've been trying to do is like there'll be like this one area. Oh, by the way, like a lot of these challenges, I'm doing them all with Trevor. I'm not even using the other characters. So that's another thing that's making them harder. But there's this one area, it's on the stage with the clone, where it's like all water and there's the birds, and the birds just move in these erratic patterns. Like they could swoop down or they could go straight down or they might just fly off the screen. Like you'd have no idea what they're going to do. And if you're just Trevor, like the bird comes down, you might have to go to like try to hit him or whatever. So you got to know things like, oh, when I get to this area, I better bring the axe with me. That way I can take out these birds and stuff like that. Because what the game wants you to do, if you're not doing a crazy challenge like I'm doing, they want you to have Alucard. So you get to that area and you just go boop and you just fly past all that shit because you have the characters to get by it. Or if you had Grant or something, you just get by it.
The other thing is like Castlevania, NES Castlevania games, Castlevania and 3, not really 2, having the 2 and the 3, like the rapid fire on the sub weapons is really important.
Oh yeah, the 2 and the... So, I want to talk about that stuff. So, a couple things that I like learned. I learned something really important about Castlevania 3 that I didn't know before this. So when you're going up the stairs, you can also throw the weapons. And that becomes important when you're doing a Trevor only run. When you have the other characters, it's a different game. But if you're only Trevor, you're going up the stairs and you get to this area where there's these like skulls and they're shooting like fireballs. And then there's these fucking like gargoyle guys coming at you and stuff. And you're like, what do I do? So you need your sub weapons to get through it. If you're going up the stairs, when you hit up, he's just walking up the stairs.
Yeah.
And if you hit the button, a lot of times he doesn't throw the axe or he doesn't throw the weapon. So how do you throw it? I learned so you have to mash the button over and over to get him to like actually throw the thing. And I was going fucking crazy because I couldn't beat this area because I didn't know that. And one guy in the chat saved my ass. He's like, "Oh, you got to actually mash the button to get him to like actually throw the shit." So
that's probably a bug.
It's not good.
Yeah.
There are some things that are bad about this game. Something that's really terrible is, so I kind of wish we had the board behind us, but I'll try to explain it. So there'll be like a block and Trevor's standing on the block, but there's a set of stairs next to it. I'm going to talk about how the stairs are fucking crap in this game. So let's say that this is it. Trevor's standing here. If I'm Trevor and I'm standing right here, if I hit down, what should happen?
You should go onto the step.
Well, no. If I'm standing right here, this is the block, and I'm Trevor, what should happen is he should duck. He should duck.
Right.
But you're standing here on the block, and you hit down, and you start going down the steps.
And then the thing hits you because you don't go down
So let's
enough.
say the stairs start here, and they're going down. Like, if I'm standing here, and I hit down, then I should start going down the steps. But the game, it like, the stairs are wonky as fuck.
As a kid, I never liked that you couldn't jump on the stairs. That gave me so much problem.
Yeah.
Like now I'm like, whatever. But back then, yeah.
So if you do play this game, know that the stairs are a little wonky. I want to talk about one thing is that a lot of people, when they play this game, the thing that people don't like, the famous thing, is they don't like the knockback.
Right.
And I want to say something about that. I think that the knockback has to be there. And the reason why is, imagine if the knockback was not there. If the knockback was not there, you would just beat this game in 2 fucking seconds. That's part of the challenge.
Well, the other thing is the knockback is there because if an enemy is on top of you, they would just be constantly dealing you damage.
Right.
And you might, like, you mess up once.
Because I was thinking, what would it be otherwise? Like, let's say you get hit by an enemy. It's like a zombie comes along and like hits you or something. Maybe they could have done a thing where Trevor or Simon in the other game, like maybe just falls down on the ground and kind of like drops to the ground and gets back up or something. Like there's other things you could do, but the fact that you have the knockback is part of the challenge of the game. Like it's kind of like it's just taking away a major element if you don't have that. And I know that I believe, hopefully I'm not wrong on this, but I believe in Castlevania Chronicles, they have a original mode and they have an arranged mode. And if you play the arranged mode, it doesn't have the knockback. Or if you play the original mode, it's like the X86,000. I think that's the name of the Japanese computer. X68,000, thank you. That computer... So that's the original version, but in the new version that they released on, I guess it was PlayStation, they were like, oh, let's put in like an easier version because a lot of people don't like this knockback. I don't like it.
Right.
It should be there.
It's part of it.
It's part of Castlevania.
One of the things about Castlevania is the control.
Fucking deal with it, you fucking pussies. It's a Castlevania.
The control in Castlevania is very deliberate. Everything they did, from the way the jump works to the way the whip works to the way ducking, sub weapons, all of it was all made for a reason.
Yes.
And when you mess with that, it's not Castlevania anymore.
And Ryan mentioned another thing I gotta say is you mentioned the Roman numerals, the ×2, the ×3, all that. So first of all, what that does is, so let's say you have the axe. Let's just use that as the example. If you have the ×2. You can throw more of them, or if you have the ×3, you can throw even more of them quicker. You can keep throwing them, or the cross. Instead of being able to only throw 1 cross, you can throw 2 or 3. So you can use more of your sub weapon. How you get them is if there'll be certain blocks that you can break, and you might get it, or if you hit a certain amount of enemies, you can get it. Another thing I learned is that you start with the leather whip. Yeah. And if you want the better whip, how do you get it? Do you know how you get it?
The upgrades, the item upgrades on the ground?
No.
Like you whip the candles and then they fall down?
Well, but yes, it's the hearts. Yes. Yes. So, but what I didn't know is that there's a certain number. So you have to get 8 hearts in order to upgrade your whip. If you have 7 hearts and you're like hitting enemies and stuff, you're like, when is this whip gonna come? When do I get the stronger whip? You have to have a certain amount of hearts to be able to get the whip upgrade. There's also all these like little things to know about the game, and it's just it's so awesome because there's so many stages, and when you think you've gone on all the stages one way, then there's all these other paths you can go, and it's just there's just so much to it, and it's like more. It's more than you would expect for an NES game. It's got more. Like the only things I can think of that are even like comparable are only like the really, really huge NES games, like maybe something like Crystalis,
right?
Or like
an RPG almost.
Like I'm trying to even think like what has as much stuff. Like maybe Guardian Legend is a huge game on the NES, but it's just so much content in there.
And you know what's funny about it? Like Castlevania, I feel like there's not a lot of problems in the way it controls, in the way you go through the environments, all of that. Like a game like Crystalis, like. Lots of problems with the swords. You know, this game does not have problems. It is on you. If you die in this game, it's because you screwed up. It is not because. I don't think it's cheap.
Except there's a little bit the stairs. Sometimes you can walk
on them.
So the thing is you gotta, as long as you figure out how the stairs work, you're good. But sometimes you'll be walking and you just like fall or something because the stairs are like a little wonky. But if you get used to how the stairs work, then you'll be okay. So that is the one thing I would say is can be a little cheap, but for the most part, like 98%,
yeah,
it is fair.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna get really, really fucking nerdy right now.
Let's do it. We're gonna get nerdy.
All right, guys. So I played a game on PlayStation.
PS1.
PS1. This game, and I want to talk about these games. This game is Brigandine. You know, I didn't even know the subtitle till I did it. To me, this game was just Brigandine.
So real quick. The gray system
is
PlayStation.
That's PlayStation.
And then the white one with the flip up is
PS1.
That's the PS1.
Dude, I have one of those.
It's funny because when people because the reason you say PS1 now, though, it's kind of like saying TOS and TNG, because it's like you kind of have to, because there's PS2 and PS3
right.
in the era. What was it, like 1997,
1998?
Before the PS2 came out,
it was just PlayStation.
It was okay to say PlayStation. And then but there's also the PS1. But that it gets confusing later.
Yeah,
you know,
I got my PS1 with the flip-up screen for $35 at a flea market.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'm really happy about that. It's sitting in the other room.
Yeah,
we use
like that version,
and you get the little battery for it, and you can play. It's like a portable almost.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Yeah, so Brigandine comes from a time. I want to talk a little bit about what I was doing at the time.
Okay,
I had a job.
Is this when you were a paper boy? Later.
No, I worked at Domino's Pizza. Yeah, I worked at Domino's Pizza.
Do you remember the Neapolitan pizza?
Yeah, the big Neapolitan. I think they call it the big Neapolitan. Yeah.
I like the red cups.
Yeah,
and the lamp.
Yo, there's a Domino's by me that has an inside.
Yeah,
where you can order and they'll deliver to the table. There's like tables and chairs and stuff inside it.
Yeah.
I've never seen a Domino's like that other than that one.
You mean Pizza Hut?
No, Domino's.
A Domino's.
There's a Domino's with an inside.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm not eating carbs anymore, but if I ever am again, let's go.
Yeah, right? Because you go there and they make the pizza in front of you.
Yeah.
You're just sitting there like somebody comes out. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen that. I don't really go there because I'm not like a pizza. Like, I like pizza, but I'm trying not to eat.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I'm working at Domino's, and
I thought you said Pizza Hut.
No, Domino's. I'm working at Domino's. I never worked
in my head, you said Pizza Hut.
No, I never worked at Pizza Hut.
That's why I started talking about all that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Dude, I got in there quick. I was a 14-year-old kid.
Yeah.
I walked up to the door. I'm like, yo, do you have anything for me? They're like, here you go, kid. We're going to pay you $5 an hour. Put these door hangers on doors.
Like they want you to put door hangers on doors like at Domino's.
Put the door hangers on the door, on like people's front doors with the coupons.
Okay, gotcha.
So there was that. I worked up from that to like assistant manager.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
From like 14 to like 18.
Yeah. Didn't you work at a GameStop?
I did, but that was in college. That was later.
Yeah.
So I'm working there, and I'm going to electronics boutique. And you go to electronics boutique, and the electronics boutique we went to,
Elbow.
There was a like the new releases would be right next to the counter, and they would put like the box there, and it'd be like a couple new releases. Now they have like a TV screen, or it's like in the back or whatever. There's the wall of shit, but there was like 3 rows, and there was the new releases. And every so often you'd see like one of these like RPG games. You'd see like a game, and the games would come and go immediately. And guess what? All those games are worth money now, but that's not what we thought about at the time. I'd go there, and I felt like a PlayStation game came out like every week. Like, it was crazy. There'd always be like these weird...
There's a lot of PlayStation games.
These weird releases. So Brigandine is an Atlas game, right? And
Which did a lot of NES games.
You know, Atlas is known for their RPGs and tactical games. And, you know, I like a tactical game. You know, prior to filming, Mike said to me, oh, you know, if the game doesn't have hexes in it, Ryan doesn't want to play it.
I mean...
You're not wrong.
Well, then I was making a joke. There's a lot of games that you like. Yeah.
So Brigandine was one of those games, and it's a single disc game, but it comes in a double disc case.
Ryan likes his Streets of Rage a lot.
I do,
which is not hex.
It's not, but it should be.
It should have. Oh, Streets of Rage should have the hexes.
No. Yeah. So it comes in a double disc case. It isn't a double disc game, but it's a big ass manual.
Yeah.
You want that, right? And it's a tactical game, but the way it works is it plays like a board game. Like this could be a tactical board game.
Is Into the Breach the best tactical game?
It's really good. It's really, you know what it is? Into the Breach is the best tactical game if you're like, oh, I just want to play a video game. I just want to play like, what's it got? Like 15 levels, something like that.
If you just want the mechanics.
It's just a game.
Yeah.
Like it comes like Advance Wars has this big campaign that's all over this place. Into the Breach is like, here it is. I want to play a game. I want to play a game for 3 days. I want to figure it out, do the shit, move on. Into the Breach is perfect. Into the Breach isn't a game.
It's not about the lore.
No, like you could do everything in Into the Breach in like 3 days.
Okay.
Right? And then you're done with it. There's nothing else. But like this game, and this is actually a criticism of it, is that like you have to play so many battles to win. But
so I saw there's like these 3D battles. You have like these dragons and unicorns.
Okay, so let's talk about it. So the first thing you do when you get this game is you pick one of these 5 countries that you're going to be the head of. And the 5 countries surround, they all have a color, and they surround the purple country in the middle, which is the Asgare's empire. And what happened was this guy, the king was going to come for him. So instead of the king coming for him, he was like the captain of the guard. He decided to overthrow the king and start this empire. So all the countries around him were pissed off about that. The first thing you do is you pick your country, and I want to go through it.
Okay.
Right? There's the orange team, which is New Almekia, which has this Prince Lance. He's like this freaking like King Arthur looking kid with 2 swords. He can heal and shoot fire and stuff. There's Caerleon, which is like the wizard town.
Okay.
There's like a young like wizard dude there. There's Norgard, which are like the people in the north who are the blue guys.
Norgard.
And they're like,
are you saying this sounds like it might be like kind of a nerdy game?
oh, it's so nerdy. They're like Skyrim looking dudes.
Yeah.
Iscalio is like this like jester dude with a scythe, and he does like dark. You know Magus in Chrono Trigger?
Yeah.
It's like, imagine if Magus and Kefka came together.
I love Kefka.
As one person.
Yeah.
Like
Kefka has the best laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whoop, whoop, whoop.
Can we get the Kefka laugh?
Yeah, we need that in there. Put it in, yeah. So, and then there's Leonia, who like has like the cleric lady who can heal and stuff. So you pick them all, and I think New Almekia or Leonia is probably the easiest Caerleon are the easiest because these 2 ally at the very beginning.
Okay.
So you don't have an enemy on all sides.
Okay.
Right? So you pick them, and then you have these guys called Rune Knights. And every unit that you have on the battlefield that can move around is headed by a Rune Knight. And then the Rune Knight has a bunch of, you can summon minions for their armies. And every Rune Knight, based on his level and other things, has a certain amount of points that they can carry. So it's like, I have 300 points. Well, this guy, this dragon may be 70 points. So I could only have 3 of them because that would be 280. I can't go over. Right? So depending on how many points my hero has, that's how many minions they can have.
Okay.
And depending on how many cities or castles.
So is it like as you get stronger, then you can have more?
Yes.
Okay.
So, and depending on how many castles you have taken over, you get a certain amount of mana, which is like the money each turn that allows you to summon the minions.
Okay.
Right? And there's like a crazy amount of minions, and I wrote them all down here.
Let's hear them.
Every minion has 2.
Does there happen to be a throng of minions?
There are no throngs. There are no legions.
Okay.
They're individuals. But they all have hit points and magic points and RPG stats associated with them. There's dragons. There's wyverns. So the difference between dragons and wyverns is the dragons don't have wings.
I saw ones that were like, they look like King Ghidorah with a bunch of heads. Is that?
They're hydras.
Those are hydras.
There's titans and golems. Yes. There's griffins. There's lizard men. there's scorpions, there's fairies, there's unicorns, there's djinns, there's rocks.
What are djinns?
They're like genies.
Oh, okay.
Right? There's rocks, which are birds that turn things to stone.
Okay.
There's angels, there's devils, there's zombies, there's vampires, there's mermen, and there's hellhounds.
This sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I like the fantasy stuff that's like this. This appeals to me. I've never been one that was really into like the military games very much and stuff like that. I like this kind of shit.
You know how like triangle strategy, I was bitching, I'm like sitting there in the fucking storyline.
You were like pissed.
Like, I'm like, all I want to do is like stab people. Right? In this game.
You were skipping through like text.
In this game, there's maybe 3 boxes of text. It's like you're fighting against a kingdom.
Yeah.
And like the guy you have knows the girl that you're fighting against. He's like, I'm going to beat you. Yeah. And she's like, no, you're not. And then you fight.
That's what I liked about that's what I liked about Heroes of Might and Magic. You just hit like the space bar and all the text is gone and then you just play the game. Yeah. Like it's there, but you can read it. You don't have to scroll through shit.
If triangle strategy flowed like Brigandine, I would have played it way more.
I see.
Because it's not just all this text. Now, all of these things, the dragon, wyverns, titans, whatever, every 10 levels.
I'm going to give you some games that I think handle it well.
Yeah.
Dead Space.
Yeah.
Because it's like all audio that you're listening to. And then also Valheim.
Yeah.
Valheim's story is like there's a rock and you walk up to the rock and it's like, if you want to read the story, go read the fucking rock.
Yeah.
That's like it, you know?
Yeah, it's like, go kill the stag.
Yeah, yeah.
There's somebody bad in the forest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about it.
Get a ball and put it on the thing. And then
but that triangle strategy, you were just like,
and they had like a fast forward button. It's like,
how about just have a button that skips all of it?
Like what? You know, because I feel like there's different kind of person. Like if I'm doing a story, I'm going to play D&D and have it be like my story with people I know.
Right.
Or I'm going to watch a movie. It's going to be like personal. I don't want to read about this like pixel guy.
Especially right in the beginning when the game hasn't earned it.
Right. We talked about that. So they all have upgrades. So like your regular dragon may become a better dragon.
Okay.
Then it may open up and it could be...
when it becomes a better dragon, does it look different? Does it do anything different?
They look different. They get more abilities. They get all of that. Like a vampire lord has way more abilities than a regular vampire.
So like what would the vampire lord do?
The vampire lord, his normal attack gives him life back.
Okay.
But then he also has like bats and...
It makes sense. Vampire is like soul... he's like sucking life back.
Yeah.
Sure.
So... And then like there's like
what's the genie guy do?
So the genie has no physical attacks, but he can fly. Mm-hmm. So like if there's mountains or forest, it doesn't.
He can like pass through.
He can pass through it, and then they shoot 2 squares, but when they run out of magic points, they're useless.
So this game is a little like Civilization. It's very you're moving around the map.
So there's like all the castles and there's paths going between the castles. Mm-hmm. And then, by the way, each castle is a different map with different mountains and forests and stuff. So if you fight a battle at this castle, the map you're on is going to be different than if you fight a battle at this castle.
Okay.
Like some of them have like valleys where like if you don't have flying things, you can't...
Is this game a little like Defender of the Crown on NES? That was one of your favorites.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's like way better.
Isn't it kind of like that, though?
Yeah, no,
that's what it's actually like.
It's very much...
If that game wasn't total dog shit.
Yeah, right? This is like a good version of that.
Right.
But then the Rune Knights have Warrior, Wizard, Cleric, and Archer, and then they can upgrade and become samurais and knights and ninjas and other stuff.
Okay.
And then the head of your country has unique abilities, like the one's a prince and...
Okay, and is there like a king or like...
There is a king.
Okay.
There's all different ones. The head of the bad guys has like a gigantic crossbow with a sword on it, but he also has armor. He's like...
So let's say there's like one kingdom. Can you like take out that kingdom and then there's another kingdom and another kingdom? Or are you just fighting one overall bad force?
Yeah, and you have to like defend your back because every country borders the bad guy in the middle and then 2 other countries.
Okay.
So as you're expanding,
and where are you?
You're whichever country you pick to start at.
Okay.
The countries are the same. Like the New Almechia is always on the left. Escalio is always at the bottom. Leonia is always on the right. Norgard's always at the top.
And which one are you?
In this footage, I'm New Almechia.
Okay.
Which Almechia was.
And can you, if you play it again, can you be
You
like
can play
one
as
of the
the other
ones?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you can even put in a code and play as the bad guys in the middle.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Now, the problem with this game is like, it doesn't really tell you what you're trying to do. So I thought that you were trying to just take over the bad guys in the middle.
You have to take over everything.
Like, take over their capital.
Yeah.
So I took over their capital. I finally fought, and it took hours.
Yeah.
It took 4 or 5 hours for me to take over the capital
And you
in the middle.
did that.
And I did that, and it's like, oh, wait, so you're saying that I need to kill everything?
You have to take over the fucking world, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's going to take a lot of time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was having fun,
Yeah.
but I'm like, that's going to take a long ass time.
I wonder how many hours this game is. This is a long fucking game.
And I'm going to have to really level up all my people because I need to be able to defend things after I take them.
Well, it seems like if you would have bought this game for what, $30, $40 back then, you probably would have got your money's worth.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And there's monks and grapplers that can do spin kicks
Monks
and stuff.
usually in these games tend to be healers and stuff like that. Is that
But
what,
then
what they are here?
they also have a good physical attack.
They have a good physical attack.
Which is pretty good.
It's what is it, Satan?
Yeah. So the game starts, you have prep mode. In prep mode, you can move your armies around. You could summon more stuff. You can equip stuff.
Is that like practice?
Use
kind of?
items. No, that's where you're deciding where your armies are going to go.
Okay.
Then you move, everyone else moves simultaneously within their own territories. Then you have attack, and you decide where you're going to attack. And then when you attack, it goes from that map with the paths going between them to the map where you fight on the hexes. Mm-hmm. And you can have up to 3 armies in the battle. So the maximum amount of units that you'd probably control in a given battle is 15. Mm-hmm. So it's not a lot. It's kind of like a Shining Force battle.
I saw that there was characters that had 1s on them, 2s on them, and 3s on them. I guess 3s are the stronger guys.
No, the number is just which army it was.
It's which group?
The order that they got there. It's group 1, group 2, group 3.
Okay.
Here's the other thing. Let's say that I'm attacking this castle and these guys come from this path and these guys come from this path. When you get to the map to actually fight, your forces will be divided.
Oh.
Because these guys came from the south and these guys came from the west.
I got a question for you. All the other forces that are fighting, do they fight each other too?
Yeah.
They also, and that's going on.
Right. So you gotta watch out.
All you.
And the AIs are dependent on the personalities of the characters. Like the guy in the north and the guy in the south, the Jester Kefka guy is really aggressive. The north, Skyrim looking guy is very aggressive.
Walk me through a battle.
Okay, so I summon my monsters, I set up my team, I move them to a castle that's on the border, and then I click on then I go to the attack step.
Okay.
I click on the castle next to it, and I can hit info and find out what forces they have. So I look at my forces, I look at their forces, I'm like, I'm going to attack this castle.
Okay.
Because I don't have to, maybe it only has one path going to it.
You can tell before you get there how strong they are?
Yeah.
Okay.
And maybe it only has one path going to it. So I know that if I move from this castle to this one, I'm not going to, they can't get behind me.
Okay, right.
Right? So I move up, I attack. When I go to attack, that it's going to ask me what armies I want to send. I send the armies. I could send as many as I want, but only 3 will be allowed to be in the battle. They battle. I place them on the map. They have to be placed on where the road comes in from the other place. Mm-hmm. Theirs appear here in the middle on the castle. Then the movement is based on the stats of the heroes. Mm-hmm. So this guy may be faster than this guy, so he gets to go first. all of his monsters move when he moves. So I can move the guy, I can move all the people that are with them. Then maybe one of theirs goes next. They move their person and all the ones that are with them. Then maybe that one goes next. Then one of mine goes. Once they all go, then the round starts and it all starts over again.
Okay.
You move your guys next to the other guys. You pick a skill or attack or cast a spell or whatever, and you're just trying to maneuver.
Let's say you do all that, and now there's a battle you're playing now, but now you're another 3 hours into it, 4 hours into it. How does the game progress as far as difficulty? How is it getting harder? What are they doing that's making it harder?
You have more territory, so you have more you have to defend. So you have to use like worse knights and stuff.
Okay.
You're only making so much money to generate more monsters.
You're kind of like running out of men and shit.
Right. And like, it's kind of realistic in that the battles don't go to the last man. It's not like you kill everybody. People retreat and then they say what.
They're like, we obviously are not going to win this. We're going to get out.
Yeah. So a lot of times you're trying to inflict enough damage on a particular guy and his forces to get him to retreat. Because usually, like, let's say he has 3 monsters with him. If you kill 2 of his monsters, he'll probably retreat.
I see.
But the other thing that's interesting is, let's say they have a guy brings in 5 monsters. Now, if I could separate him from his group and kill him, his monsters don't have a commander anymore.
Yeah. And
a lot of them will end up being left behind.
So if you get the commanders.
If you kill the commanders. Now, on top of that, one of the things I like is the Nightmare, which is the upgrade. The unicorn can either upgrade to a Pegasus or a Nightmare.
Ooh.
So the Pegasus can fly around and is like still a healer and stuff. The Nightmare has this warp ability.
What's that do?
Where it can cast it on an enemy and it just warps it away from the other troops. And then I can send my guys to go get them.
Okay.
And that ability is pretty crazy.
That's so you can take an enemy and just like plop him over there. Basically.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different stuff. The other thing is quests. Let's say I have some rune knights that I'm not sending out to go somewhere to fight or to guard or whatever. I can send them on a quest. And you send them on a quest, it's a random event that happens, and then they get an item, or they get a stat boost, or they get hurt.
Oh, yeah, that's another thing. So are you, like, equipping things between battles, too? Okay,
yeah.
So you're getting, like, items and
you are.
Armor.
You get, like, different swords and bows and staves and stuff.
So, like, I know, like, one of the things that you can be is, like, a unicorn. So, like, what would you be equipping them with?
So,
like,
that's a good point. So, only the rune knights can equip stuff. Not the army guys. Okay. But there was a add-on version of this game called Brigandine Grand Edition that only came out in Japan. And it added a bunch of stuff. It added the ability to do multiplayer.
Okay.
So, but like past the controller multiplayer. So you could have all the countries controlled by another person and pass them. So we could have like 6 people.
Right.
But like this is a game where you would have to leave it like it takes so long.
Leave it on.
So it's like, oh, I'm going to play some turns. Like
how many people like probably actually did that?
The 6-player.
The
mega
6-player.
Like I could see people doing like 2.
It's like how many people did the 8-player, 10-player Bomberman,
right?
Like Saturn.
So the Grand Edition 6-player game. They added a big bad that if you take over the whole map, then this big like final enemy appears, and you have to fight it.
Yeah. They
added scenarios where you could play where like the map starts different. Like different countries are eliminated, or like these people were traitors.
So it's like expansion packs,
right? Kind of. So they did that, and then they made a sequel on Switch called Brigandine Legend of Runesia, which you could play now.
Have you tried
on
that?
Switch? I haven't tried it yet.
Okay.
But after having played this, it seems like it was time for a sequel.
Right.
It's like 20 years went by.
20 years is pretty good.
You know, but it's amazing that this game even got a sequel. And what I like about the sequel is that the designer of it was the designer of Final Fantasy III.
Oh, wow.
Like not 6.
Yeah.
3.
3 meaning 3 on Famicom.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and Xenoblade Chronicles and Disgaea.
Okay.
So it might be good.
Right.
Right? This game's good. It just takes way more time than I have.
Yeah.
Like, after I took over the main guy's thing, I'm like, do I really need to play more of this?
Yeah.
But it is fun. And there's a lot of cool stuff in it.
If you had unlimited time, would you really go through the whole thing, you think? Or?
I did, dude. When I was a teenager, I played like all the different countries. I learned about all the different things they could summon in different places. Yeah, I played a ton of it.
Okay. And what is the most like off-putting thing about it? Like, what's the thing you hate? If there's any, there's always something. Right?
There's 2 things. The things are like to win, you would have to fight a lot of battles. And the thing is like when this guy attacks this guy, it goes to this separate screen where it shows a 3D battle where like they actually slash at the other one.
Right, I think I saw that.
While they're cool looking, like you have to watch the same
shit again and again.
Shit again and
it's
again.
It's redundant
again,
like
right?
that, yeah.
That's the problem. Maybe if you could like speed them up or
I see.
Just have it be quicker, because there's a lot of other tactical games where they just shoot.
And they're just dead.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that's Brigandine on PlayStation.
Well, guys, that is this week's episode of Talk About Games. I am hoping that you are enjoying the show. Leave us a comment about what you'd like to see us do in the future. We have a Patreon where we do other types of content. You should definitely check out all that. We have title cards that you could get if you like the thumbnails. You could definitely check those out. They're available via just the Patreon.
Just the Patreon. That's
just the
only
Patreon,
way.
so that you can get the title cards that way if you're interested in that. And if you can, if you listen to this on Spotify or if you're listening to this audio-wise, if you can go on to Apple Music and leave us a review, it helps the show out. We'd appreciate it. You got anything? Anything else? Did I cover all the bases?
You covered all of them. Based on when this show airs, we got Too Many Games, the convention coming up that I run in Oaks, PA. It's the last full weekend in June, so check that out if you want to see some of the arcades we talk about on the show.
What kind of arcades are we going to have?
So we're going to have a bunch of Street Fighters.
They're going to have Street Fighter.
We're going to have Millipede. Centipede.
Right there. You're good to go.
We're going to have the most cursed Mr. Doom machine you've ever seen in your life.
Evil, awful Mr. Doom machine.
Right. We're going to have 2 Vuelix 1080p like modern candy cabs.
And what would be in there?
Street Fighter V will probably be one of the games. I'll probably change it throughout the weekend.
Okay.
Guilty Gear Strive. I know people like that. Raiden 5.
Are you going to have Space Invaders?
Yo, Space Invaders is on one of them.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So there's this. So they both have this Japanese launcher called Nessica on them.
Yeah.
So Nessica is like the Japanese like online service for arcades where you can download the games to it. And one of them has the Space Invaders for Nessica Live on it. Mm-hmm. And literally you click on this like full 1080p, like dubstep music's blasting menu. You select the game and it's just Space Invaders. It's just Space Invaders,
right.
Like nothing, but it's formatted for the screen and it not emulated. It actually runs on it.
Well, is that Strider going to be there?
Strider.
What else you got? You got other
NBA
stuff?
Jam.
NBA Jam is going to be there.
X-Men.
Fucking X-Men.
Simpsons. Definitely Simpsons. I have Gun Barrel, which is Point Blank 2 for Japan in a dedicated cabinet with the guns.
Yeah.
With the big Namco guns.
Yeah.
Sound Voltex Exceed Gear, which is the latest rhythm version of that game. Jubeat, which is a rhythm game, and you can play the Contra. You can play. It's a Konami rhythm game.
Okay.
You can play a lot of the songs. Gradius and Contra are in there, as well as a bunch of like modern songs.
Are you gonna have Miss Pac-Man?
Miss Pac-Man, absolutely. Junior Pac-Man.
Junior Pac-Man, guys.
Magic Sword.
Magic Sword.
What else do I got? There's a lot.
You got that Big Blue.
Big Blue Street Fighter. We talked about that. Shadows over Mystara.
Oh, Shadows over Mystara. Well, that's one of my favorites.
Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Marvel. And aren't a lot of... you're probably gonna. There's other people bringing machines or something.
Oh yeah, there's gonna be over 100 machines there.
Yeah,
but all the ones I'm talking about are just the ones that we're
there's just your stuff
working on.
Yeah. Any Neo Geo related stuff?
Metal Slug 5.
Metal Slug 5.
Neo Geo 4 slot with Windjammers and Ghost Lop and Neo Turf Masters and whatever else I decide to put in there.
It's like Magical Drop or something.
Magical Drop might be in there.
Right.
A Taito F3 machine that right now it has Bust a Move 3 in it. Mm-hmm. But it'll probably have not Bare Knuckle. What the hell is it called?
Streets of Rage.
Something Champions.
Eternal Champions.
Fighting Champions or something like that.
Okay.
It's the only 6-button game that's on the system.
Okay.
I might change it throughout the weekend, or I might just put Bubble Bobble in it and call it a day. I have a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
What else is there? There's so much stuff.
You gonna have any of those the like 1-ups?
No, I'm not bringing no 1-up. I'm like getting out of the 1-ups.
You're done with the 1-ups.
Yeah.
I mean, once you go to the real machines, it's hard to do the 1-ups.
Yeah, it's definitely hard.
Yeah.
There are other machines. Oh, Theater Rhythm Final Fantasy, the Final Fantasy rhythm game.
Yeah.
Straight from Japan. Yeah.
All kinds of shit.
All kinds of shit.
That's just the arcades. And there, what else is happening at this convention?
There's a bunch of anime voice actors.
Okay.
Right? We got the voice of V from Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah.
Coming out for it. We got Tico, if you're into Fortnite. He did Fishy on Me, the song.
Fortnite.
We got Fortnite people. We got YouTube guests. Mm-hmm. Beat 'em ups, Wood. Mm-hmm. Spawn Wave, Wolf Den. Mm-hmm. A lot of those guys. Concerts, Psycho Stick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good show. Cosplay contest.
Yeah.
There's 5 Magic the Gathering professionals that are going to be there.
Right.
Big tabletop. Yu-Gi-Oh! Regional Championship.
Yeah.
Dragon Ball Z Regional Championship. Right. All kinds of stuff. Smash Brothers Tournament.
I was just thinking about me going around on the teacups, man.
Yeah.
I'm just going around. How fast? You ever turn the thing?
Yeah, you can get it going. You
get sick on that shit.
Wow. Yeah. So that's going to be too many games this year. The theme is Miss Pac-Man. Get a Miss Pac-Man hoodie. We have our legally distinct ghosts on it.
No, actually, speaking of that, Miss Pac-Man, you're going to have the speed chip thing, right?
Oh, I got the speed chip.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, what am I talking about? Donkey Kong, Popeye, Mario Brothers. Is there any other ones?
You have a lot.
Yeah.
There are other machines that I've seen that you've had. I'm trying to think of what they are, but you have, what do you got, like 40, 50 machines
47
now?
machines.
47 machines.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That's a lot of machines.
Yeah, and like half of them are in my garage right now. It's great. It's great.
Yeah. Is your family happy about it?
Oh, yeah, they love it. My wife loves parking in the street. It's awesome.
Yeah, she like get these fucking things out.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
That's all right. All right, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and we will be back next week with more games. Let us know in the comments what you'd like to see. Thanks for watching.
Thank you. Bye.
I think Capcom does a great job when they're adding like collaboration characters.
I've never been able to extend this way.
Oh god, I gotta get the helmet on. Oh god.
Wait a minute, our guy's a bad guy the whole time.
I just think it's crazy that I'm better at video games now than when I was like 16.
That is how you fix all the problems with all these games.
I feel like toy distribution is so different than it used to be.
They resculpted over the chest. They gave him a flak jacket over it.
I laugh when I see Among Us, but I'm not having fun inside. It's a reflex.
No, you took my joke!